Okay, board has returned to regular session 6:22 from an executive session. There were no votes or decisions made during executive session. Okay, we have one more signee this evening. That's Tim Elliott, one of our instructors. He's going to educate us on something, I think, of a different nature. He understands we can't ask a lot of questions, but he's going to be so thorough in his explanation, we won't need to ask any. Go ahead, Mr. Elliott.
Thank you guys for your time. First, I was going to show you guys some of the awards that we've actually received this year in robotics. One of the things that we added last year with Dr. D'Antoni and Mr. and Mrs. Gilman's approval was we added VEX Robotics, and through that, we added that into our electronics curriculum. So what we do is, in our electronics, is we spend about the first month going over a lot of the basics that cross between PC, electronics, and robotics. After the first month, we kind of do like a 1-week course we do a 1-week course over all 3 areas. After that, I allow the students to pick under those 3 which one they feel more comfortable, which one they actually want to pursue in a career. This year was the first year we've done robotics. We actually followed the VEX Robotics teaching instruction guide on that. And so we had 7 students start out in the program. We finished with 6. One of the students that found out that he really didn't like the robotics side and he switched back to computers, which isn't a big deal. You know, in the first year, I understand we'd have some overlap and a lot of the stuff does cross curriculum. Well, because we did start the robotics, the VEX Robotics in our classroom, we started going to the competitions. Our first competition was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where we actually went undefeated in our regular season. We went 11-0, and in playoffs, we actually made it all the way to the finals, losing to the team that finished 4th in the world this year. Then we came back and we competed in our own state. The robotics, and that's on my iPad, I'll show you guys a video here in a second. It'll explain a little bit better the competition. You pair up. What they do is for season play, they'll randomly draw your name and another name out of a hat, and you'll play against 2 others. So what could happen is Mr. Midkiff and myself, we could be from totally different schools. They draw our numbers out of a hat. We end up being paired together. We have 10 minutes to talk, to work on our game plan for what's in front of us, and then we could be competing against you 2. And what we do is we go in, and you start out with a 15 to 30 seconds, depends on how the tournament's set up, an autonomous period. And what we do is you actually have to pre-program your robot to do everything without you touching it, without you being able to control it, and it goes through a couple of series of tasks. And actually, to show you guys some of the tasks real quick, I'll just pass my iPad around so that way you guys can see what we have. All right. This is actually the VEX field. We actually were fortunate enough that the state gave us a full grant. It cost almost $5,000 for everything you see there. The state funded it completely. So nothing came out of our county pocket, nothing came out of my classroom funds or the high school funds. They actually, like I said, they sent the money down and we were able to order it. But what you do is you have a red team and a blue team, and you go through, you have 15 to 30 second autonomous where you have to pre-program the robot to pick up those buckyballs or the beach balls and score them into a designated area. After that, you are given anywhere between a minute 30 to a minute 45, depends on how long the autonomous, it's a total of 2 minutes, to where it's driver controlled. And then again, what you're trying to do is get the beach balls, the buckyballs into the scoring area, and at the end of the match, highest team point wins, and then you advance on. In West Virginia, again, we went undefeated in our regular season. Again, made it all the way to the championship game. We ended up losing the championship game by 1 point. And our teammate was then also voted as the engineer robot, as the grand champion pretty much of West Virginia. And they went out and represented West Virginia. Well, what I was talking about with the autonomous, and that's why I spent a little bit of time on that, was they have a challenge called an autonomous challenge or a programming challenge. And they give you 30 seconds and you go through and you score as many points as you can and it's just yourself. Well, one of our students this year, when we competed in Pittsburgh and at West Virginia, he went through and set it all up and he actually placed 60th in the world. Well, what that does is that allows us to go to the International VEX competition. And us being our first year, I never in a million years thought that we would make top 60. Last time I looked, there's over 250,000 teams around the world. So never in my wildest dreams did I ever think in our first year we'd get top 60. Well, because of that, we was invited to the VEX International Summer Games. And that's what I'm actually here for. Up until this point, everything that we've done with robotics, we have done grant funded, or Mr. Snyder has also helped us with a lot of our funds where we went to our competition. The problem is there is no choice in this one but to fly, and that's what's hurting us on our cost. We've received money from the county commission that we've used for some of our past competitions, and to be able to actually fund this and be able to go out there, we are looking at about $8,000. And I know that seems like a lot. And one thing that I really like, my parents, well, my mom is an investment broker, and the one thing she always teaches me is you always want to have a return on your money. And that's one thing that we've actually been able to do is we've gained partnerships with companies like Toyota, Gestamp, and what we do is after our students are done with our program, they actually are allowed to enter into, it's actually going to be Bridge Valley, Bridgemont and Kanawha Valley Technical Institution merged, so it's Bridge Valley starting July 1st, I think. But what they do is they enter into this program, and it's an associate degree program. But what's nice about it is they get their entire associate degree paid for by Toyota. While they are attending the 18-month program, they work at Toyota. And what they do is they work 20 hours a week at Toyota. They get paid $21 an hour. And then they get paid $21 an hour to go to school for their full shift. So they actually get paid for 36 hours of the week. And if they are caught up with their schoolwork and they have their professor sign off that they are receiving A's and they're caught up on their schoolwork, they will allow them to work an additional 10-hour shift on Saturdays if everything's caught up. One of Jerry's students that I worked with this summer actually got a job at Gestamp, and I actually just texted him because I wanted to make sure I gave you the right figures. He's making $22 an hour. He just finished up his first year, and he's doing the same thing with Gestamp. And at the end of this, he'll actually be moved into the management safety position, which he said he could be making anywhere from $28 to $32 an hour. And right now he does have all of his work caught up and everything, so he does work the extra Saturday shifts because he said he just bought a new truck and he really likes to make the payments for it. That's one of the things that I really like about this program is it does have a return on the money that we put in. And we've received money from the state. We're working with the 21st Century in our county to actually start up our middle school robotics program. And all the students that are actually attending the VEX International is volunteering 2 weeks of their summer to come in and work with the youth, the middle school. We're bringing in Duval and, I'm trying to remember the weeks, Duval and Harts together, and then Hamlin and Guyan Valley, to where we actually start this robotics league, Robotics IQ, in the middle school. So when they come up to the high school, they already have the fundamentals. They already understand the engineering notebook that we have to go through and teach the students. They already understand how to give a presentation. That's a portion of our grading scale is Matthew Chandler. He's the one that does ours. He has to stand up in front of Todd Channing. He's a NASA scientist. He's the one that did our presentation. He has to stand up in front of him, Fairmont State University engineering chair, and present, this is our robot, this is why it's the best, this is why it goes through and you want to buy our robot. It's a sales pitch. It's a kind of like a scenario sales pitch. But and that's why I'm here asking for the $8,000. And, Mr. Snyder and I've talked, $8,000 I know is a lot, and that's it's at that point that where that will clear out a student activity fund for so many things else. And that's why, after talking to him, he said, come to the board and ask him. And I will say this, we understand, 8,000 is a lot, and we're working for next year so that we don't have to do this. We've been working with VEX and NASA to where next year we will actually host a VEX robotics competition at Lincoln County High School. We'll then also host a VEX IQ competition, which is the middle school division. And then we're also going to host a Lego League, which is elementary to middle school. It's an age gap. It's not, Lego's not grade, it's age. Where VEX is is grade, not age. I apologize for that. So we're going to host all three. After talking to them, they said on average you make about $2,000 from each one of those. So that will actually work towards that if we do qualify next year, that we're not looking for all this money at the end. And that's like I said, it was one of those that we started this program. I told my kids, hey, if we get this, we can pull it off. And I never imagined that it would be, that they would place in the top 60. Especially their first year. We have finalist trophies outside of these. We have 2 of them. But I wasn't climbing up to get them. I forgot to ask my kids because we are West testing today. And when I realized that I was in this, and I just wasn't going to climb. So I brought these ones that are on my desk just to show. So I appreciate your guys' time. I understand that you guys can't ask too many questions, but if you guys do have any, I would like to answer them.
Well, we can at this
Right.
forum, but we'll do it in another manner. But we'll let the superintendent, she'll deal with it. We'll talk with her, and then we'll get back to you. Do you have extra copies?
Yes, I do.
If you, Mr. Donahue might.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
Anything you have extra.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
What is it that,
Unfortunately for the registration, and I have, unfortunately for the registration, and I do have the funds for the registration in the account from the county commission. It is $300 and it's due the 15th of this month. So if the decision will take longer than the 15th, it's not that big of a deal. I do have the funds that will cover that. So that's not, I'm mostly looking, like I said, for the travel because that's just something we can't come up with in such a short time.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mr.
All right.
Donahue.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and you want your laptop back on.
Yes, please. Thanks.
Mr. Snyder.
I heard it. That just shouldn't say it.
Oh, yeah.
I was here to hang on to you.
He's leaving everything. He's just got.
Well, we have a track meet at Hurricane, and that's where I was trying to to rush off to.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. It sure is. These are the kind of ones that I'd like them to be on there where we can actually talk a little bit, and maybe see. He showed Fred and I before the meeting started some of the antics of the robots. There's the kind of thing we'd like to see. Yeah. Okay, but it's our understanding that Mr. Snyder has indicated he could fund half of that, so the board would be asked to fund the other $4,000. Okay, let's go on then to our next presenter, and that'd be Derek Christian, LCHS Athletic Fields. Mr. Christian.
All right.
Reminds me of that movie, that book, whatever it was. Mr. Christian.
Well,
You got it, don't you, Sean? My accent's off a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. 5,000 miles.
quite sure where we want to start with this. First, I guess we can start with I guess y'all wanted to see the overall.
Mr. Wilkerson, we're gonna have to.
Oh, that's mine, that's good.
I'm gonna have to ask you some questions for him.
Good.
I'm having listening here. Kent?
This, I guess, the big question, $64,000 question is, I don't know if we want to start there or not, about the band, where the band fields want to go.
Let's start elsewhere.
Okay.
Derek. Then we'll work our way to the band field.
I like that.
Now, does Mr. Wilkerson have a copy of this? Do you have one for him, or?
I'll leave one, yeah.
Okay, so because I know Larry will want one eventually here, Gary. But let's just, just kind of.
Well, the overall scheme is again, I was asked to come up with a plan for football stadium. And not just football track, and a locker room, and weight room, and the whole 9 yards. And that's basically what I did, and again, all that other stuff developed through the clearing of the grading of the property back there to put the dirt in for the soccer, because we had met over there with Mr. Priestley, Mr. Curry, and I don't know, just a few others.
Let me just interject here. What Mr. Wilkerson, I keep referring to him, because what he is sought and is asked for is a master plan of what the high school campus is going to look like in the future.
You got it in your hand, basically,
Okay.
kind
And
of,
that's-
somewhat.
So it's
I mean,
not just, of course, the football stadium and all.
No, that's got it all in there.
Well, I'm gonna say, it's an integral part, but really what was asked was, what's the whole campus gonna look like one of these days when all the funding comes through and we get everything completed? Where is everything gonna be? So we don't just come up and hodgepodge different things here or there, that we
The
have a
only
long
thing
way
in
to go.
question now, Mr. Priestley, would be the band field.
Well,
That's the
but
only
no.
thing in question.
I think
Everything
there's-
else is in place.
Well, I have a couple other things that aren't on there, for instance. But this is pretty much, are there any other sports, activities, anything that anybody can think of that aren't shown here?
Well, the ROTC, I don't know.
I was gonna say, I don't see JROTC on
We're
here.
over there beside the soccer field.
Well, I mean, we know where it is, but I'm saying on this master plan, it isn't
That
shown.
works.
But we had talked,
We're good.
but we had talked too about you all putting something out, the climbing or the rappelling tower or whatever. Was that going to be part of?
Someday I gotta figure out how to do that first.
But that's what I'm saying, if when we figure out if we wanna do that, we'd like to know where we wanna place that, you know what I mean? But aside from that, there aren't any other, we're not gonna have a 3-hole golf course or anything out there that we
Lacrosse,
are.
rugby.
As far as we know, okay. Now, let me ask, let's go back to just strictly football for a minute.
Okay.
Okay? Now, one, the facility building, because like, where we are right now, down on that far corner, you told me the other day when we were talking about this a little bit, that where the dirt is still a bit higher than the rest of the field, that a lot of that dirt was going to have to be moved, and it would be moved over.
Right,
Where
yes,
the
we still got
facility
some grading to do back
Right,
there, which we're
okay.
getting ready. As soon as he's done with coaching baseball at Guyan Valley, we're gonna move towards that.
Okay, so but this, some of that dirt, is that where it would be placed, was where the facility building is shown on this?
Mhm.
Okay, that's one thing. Now, the next thing that I want to ask about is the access road that leads beyond the field, back beyond the high school.
It's going to go around the, right, you talking, that, this
I'm
right
talking
here.
about,
This goes around, you talking about
No,
that?
no,
What
I'm
goes
talking-
up on the?
I'm talking about
Up on the hill.
the,
Gas
The
company,
gas
right.
line?
Yeah.
That's in there, it's right back around here. It's never, it's not gonna be, it's
Well-
just gonna be moved back here a little bit is all.
well, what we have to be careful of is what we're able to do and provide that. I mean, and the reason I bring that up, we don't want to get into the stages of building our football stadium and all, then realize that right down through the end zone down there has to be an access road. So I'm just saying, we're going to have to make sure of where those are and that we've met all the requirements that, and I don't know what they may be, I don't know if it's stated in any deed, how it's done, but that's something that we will have to eventually make sure that's there, because there are property owners that own property above the board there, and they have access to it. So just another one of those things in the master plan of all things.
That may be.
Is it the red line?
That may be the.
Red line's property.
That's
what I'm-
property.
Red line's property.
Okay. There's a faint red line around there.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that. I always wondered where some of that were. But anyway, that's the kind of thing that we'll have to make sure of, that as a part of the master plan, you know, you're going to obviously have to provide access to that property for the people above there. Okay.
This is basically what that is right there, and if you want to look at that.
It's the same as what we have here.
Right. Just
Okay.
take one hand.
Mr. President.
Again, those are things that we would have to bring the surveyors in, and, you know, but as of right now, we've cut that where they can get up around through there. And I've been there going on 2 years, and I've never seen a vehicle go back
Well,
by there. And that don't mean they
well,
don't need it.
they
I mean,
have access.
there's a reason it was there, I know.
That's what I'm saying, is that at some point, we have to make sure that our plan out here, that we don't infringe on somebody else, or otherwise we might get a
Absolutely.
rude awakening one morning when they come through and say, no, you're not gonna have that end zone there, because we're gonna put a road through there. That's where it may just require the legal people to look at the deeds and all, and try to conclude where that should be. I'm just not wanting us to go ahead and then start something and realize that we got a problem. Absolutely. Board members, are there any other things that you all see or question, or, Mr. Wilkerson, I know you can't see what we're looking at here, but do you have anything particular?
Can someone hold a copy of that for me?
Yes, you have a copy, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. But if you have anything that you think of that, you know, without you actually viewing it, Larry, you just let us know, and we'll try to see if we can get an answer.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Carol, around, you don't have anything?
I just love the ticket booth there. I think that's just amazing.
And again, I didn't bring the actual, what the estimated cost was, because I didn't want anybody to choke tonight.
Thank you.
We feel like we can come way under that, and there's a lot of contingency in that they put into it. But I will say that it's basically what they said from ZM said, that every year you wait, what was it, Mr. Snyder? 8%, so it kind of was right, but I think we can get away with way under what they're saying if we do.
What kind of field service are you?
That's AstroTurf right there. It's a 6-lane track. Again, for whatever reason, some people in the community are saying we're not wanting a track around the field. That's the farthest from the truth. We do want a track.
That's what you should have. So your goal is to have some type of turf there, I mean,
Correct.
AstroTurf
That would be, you know, synthetic field turf that you see that's out there today. I will tell you that, you know, it was 600 and some thousand for that football field turf right there. And then probably another 300, right at 300,000 for the 6-lane track.
For its surface, you mean?
For the surface and the, you know, underneath, and that's the drainage that goes with all that. And, you know, talking to the people with the field turf people, now they do not actually do the track, but they work in conjunction with people that do, and they recommend that you try to do it all relatively at the same time, so it all works together. It's not 100% necessary, but they said it's recommended, highly recommended. And again, we've put, you know, that's all the bells and whistles right there. I mean, what we're talking about with, you know, the bleachers. For a AAA facility, you have to have 4,000 seats to host a playoff game. And, of course, we were wanting to put the concession stand underneath, a locker room, and a little indoor facility. Now, that's a pretty good size indoor facility there. But that could be adjusted to whatever we feel like the budget would be for, whatever we determine the money.
But that's above and beyond the 650 or whatever.
Yes,
right?
that's a different, but that would be your locker room, weight room, little indoor place to do agility drills and stuff in the winter. Because right now, I mean, it's, you know, we use the hallway. And we try to make do with what we have, and we're thankful for that. And again, this is top of the line bells and whistles. We got a concession stand locker room on the visitor side as well. And a nice path to go around the whole thing and access. That's the gray part right there. That's an access road that goes around the stadium right there. And of course, in the overall plan, they have the fence and they have all the decorative stuff, and those are nice, but, you know, that's something that as we can sit down and really discuss all that stuff. I mean,
Well, that's something you could add later too.
exactly. But that's through Chapman Technical right there, and, that's where we're at. And, I mean,
Let me, do you have any plans for like the immediate future, the next year, for instance, as far as trying to utilize the field, assuming that you get your dirt moved over where the auxiliary building is going to be, and you have a pretty, sound, or way the football field, I guess, is pretty much going to be laid out. Do you have any plans of going ahead and seeding that and using it for practice, or are you just going to keep coming over the lines field?
I would imagine that we'll probably seed it. I don't know that we could practice because there's nowhere for storage, there's no locker rooms, there's no anything to that nature that would allow us to be.
That's the reason I was curious if you all had any plans until, the final thing.
I would say we can seed it and put grass on it. I mean,
But you don't really foresee practice in there, but for the reason.
I don't know that it logistically would make sense, Steve, to be honest with you. I mean, that's something we could talk about.
Well,
I mean,
I'm
I
just
don't-
curious if what.
There's no way, and that's an issue. I mean, right now, is our weight rooms here, our football fields over there, our schools over there. It's incomplete. It's an incomplete facility. It's the mansion's over there, but the garage is over here.
I think all of us agree with that.
And if this piece right here, I mean, I got all kinds of things I could say. I don't know how much time I'm gonna spend on it, but it would just, I believe it's a step in unifying this county. And with the consolidation, I think it's the missing piece that would help bond this, whole county. And I don't have to tell you, and everybody sitting in here knows that a lot of people don't come over here because they say, I'm not going to Hamlin, no football game, and that's out there. But I think this would, the school spirit, the school pride, I took a survey, I will pass that out for you, of our staff, and we were talking about it yesterday. And it's going to impact not just football folks, it's going to impact the whole community from top to bottom. We're talking about band, we're talking about track, we're talking about soccer, we're talking about middle school programs, we're talking about midget league programs, and not just immediate impact, we're talking about impact for 30, 40 years from now. And, when we talk about AAA facilities, we're not in a AAA facility. At Hamlin one time, I'm sure it was a great place. And it's there and we're using it. We're thankful to have that, and I mean, you gotta have somewhere. This was I took this little survey from staff, just to see where we were, what our thoughts were about where we were in high school, about what their thoughts were. And do you feel the morale of the students at Lincoln County is higher or low? I mean, you can look at that at your own, but that's why there was 58 people that took the survey. And everybody's talking about, they're excited about the possibility of having that. Again, it's going to impact far more people than just the kids at the high school. It's going to impact the whole community. Every kid in this county goes to the high school. Well, not everyone, but a majority. And it's what do we have to rally around over there right now? What do our kids rally around? And right, wrong, or indifferent, I think we talked about this before, football sets the tone for your school. And I've been in schools where we played for state championships and we were winning football programs. And my goodness, the atmosphere and the excitement, and it's all positive. And it affects your academics. We're 108 out of 113. I mean, I can't say for 100% for sure that it's gonna raise our test scores, but I guarantee it'll give us a lot more pride and make us more cognizant of what we're doing, and our kids will have something to be proud of, and maybe something to work for. It's a chance to showcase our school. When we bring teams in to Hamlin High School field or the Lions Club field, we're not showcasing our school. We have a beautiful multi-million-dollar facility over there, and all my, where's your school? Where's the school? We want to see the school. I go, oh, it's down the road there. But it's a great way to showcase our facility.
Well, I think everything you said, we agree with you wholeheartedly, you know.
Oh, I know, I'm preaching to the choir, I know that.
And we would hope that we'll get to see that occur.
Sean Elias up.
And, you know, I
Gotta be
reached
on
out
flip-flops.
to some people financially, and, you know, the door hadn't been shut, but, you know, we're still in conversation.
Okay, the only monies we have right now, I guess, what we've had are a couple $100,000, is that correct, Bert? I don't know if y'all been maybe using some of that or not.
I'm getting ready to, we use a little bit too. That's the most expensive piece of cardboard I've ever seen.
I can imagine.
Don't want to lose that.
No, we take care of that. And, you know, we paid for the work over behind there to get it. But, again, it's something that's sorely needed. We know that. It's
We all, I
missing
mean,
piece of the puzzle.
we all realize that, and what it would do for, not like you say, just for the students at the school, but our county as a whole, you know, just the pride element of having that. And you talked about the championships, you know, we saw that here just a couple of years ago when the girls won the, you know, softball state championship, you know.
And that's a perfect example of a program who has nice facilities, the pride that's in the program. It makes a difference in your athletes and your school. I mean, it just does.
We agree.
And you know, the 7 out of the 10 teams we play all have nice new facilities. And got 2 more coming on the schedule the year after next that have facilities.
Well, do you all, I mean, so obviously you all are attempting to contact individuals or corporations or somebody to try to obtain money?
Couple, but I just, it's just not, I just don't see it happening, honestly. I just really don't. I just don't think it.
Well, I mean, as you know, that was one of our proposals in our bond that
Oh,
went
yeah,
down in
yeah.
flames, to address the issue of that along with other things throughout the county.
Oh, yeah.
So the funding is obviously the biggest obstacle, we all know that. It's not within the board's, you know, availability, excess funds that we can fund that, but I guess we will assist in any way we can.
And I'm open for suggestions on what we, you know, we've got. I mean, I just think it has to happen somehow, some way. For us to ever have respect, I guess is a word that we could use there. I mean, it's almost embarrassing, folks, I'm telling you. When your other team comes in there and you know, some of the weights in that facility right there are dangerous, and I've got pictures, and I'm trying to get some money for that. Y'all maybe even got a letter, I don't know.
Don't have it yet.
Don't have it? Oh, okay.
We're waiting on it.
But, I mean, it's just subpar. It is, and it's not fair to our kids. It is not fair.
Well, I know recently, of course, you know, the SBA, you know, they funded the high school, but they do not provide monies for athletic facilities. I do know that this year there was some legislation that didn't make it through the legislature, that where it would alter that to where the SBA could also fund athletic facilities. Now, you know, I don't think we need to be holding our breath on that happening, but I think everyone sees the need and oftentimes the difficulty that some places have in providing that. So we agree with all that there.
Do we do we talk to them? I mean, do we go revisit them and say, look, you know, we got shortchanged out here in Lincoln County?
Well, unless, my understanding, unless the law changes, they really can't do that. And that's why I think there was a movement in the legislature to allow the SBA to provide that, because that was just one of the things that wasn't allowed before. So that may happen, but you can't.
Well, I mean, I know it's a lot of money, you know, 3 to 5 million probably could have us a nice facility.
Let's, anything else, Randy, anything, you all have anything to disagree? Okay, let's talk about the band room. or the band
All right.
field there. What do you tell us?
You want, my opinion is, if you want
We
my
have three
opinion.
choices here. Here.
And I was looking at it today, and Mr. Snyder looked at it today. Of course, I know draining the pond's been a topic,
Been mentioned, yeah.
but I think personally, you could go below that with even without having to drain that pond and work with that. There's a ton of room right below that pond.
You want me to tell you how much a ton is?
How much?
70 by 50, wasn't it, Fred? Mr. Curry and I went out there here.
70 yards, about
Se-
50 yards?
Yes, that's what you can get in there without touching it. And there's a little ravine that separates that and I guess the parking lot for the baseball area, you know. But there could be 70 yards obtained there.
That's huge.
Well, it's a big space.
And of course, the other most,
Oh, band.
Well, but now, I'm, having met with the band boosters earlier, I guess it was last year now, they feel that they should have a field that's comparable to what they perform on. In other words, a 100-yard football field, because that's what they perform on, and they have to do various things on that. I've never in the band, so I just listen to them. But I mean, that's going to be the other side of it that we need to have. And I'm not taking sides on it, on either one. I'm just saying that they feel like they need 100 yards to do the things they do. But, you know, I know Fred and I, went out there, so we were doing some work on some other things when we were working on the soccer field and all, so we'd out there anyway, so we just decided we were going to measure and see how big a space that really was, so we'd know. But,
75, 50, that's pretty big. I mean,
It's
For a-
3/4 of a foot, that's the same
for a-
width as a football field and 3/4 of the length.
for a, 40-member band at the
Well,
most.
they will tell you, Mr. Cook told me when I met with them, that they're anticipating next year that they will have 60 members. Because, you know, here a couple of years ago, one of the things we heard when we first started, 3 or 4 years ago, that we had a dismal band, and I don't mean their performance, but I mean in their numbers. There were 15 or 20 kids there. And at that time, when we were approached by them, the board took it upon their suggestion of establishing middle school band programs, which would eventually lead to the high school. And I think we're going to see that begin to come to fruition, and hopefully, I think that's what they're saying now, that these middle school programs, just like middle school football or anything else, you all know, you develop and work, and band is no different. So we've obligated, we feel like that's a need for many kids. So hopefully those numbers will increase. But he told me at that meeting when I met with the band boosters that he anticipates having 60 members next year. Now, you know, time will tell. But anyway, now other choices here.
Well, right there, of course, as you go in the entryway, that,
Off to the left there.
correct?
Now
To me,
that-
that's the most logical place, because it's ready to go. I mean, you may need to do a little bit to it, but it's flat, it's big enough,
It
It's
could probably
ready.
be large, but their concern with that is that it's not accessible to the band room. In other words, they have equipment just like you had, and that they, instead of being able to go out their back door of the band room to area there, like one of the first one you proposed, it wouldn't be quite as large as they want. That is close to the band room, and, you know, they'd be able to move their equipment in and out relatively easily. Where going over here would require more effort on their part. I'm just trying to show both sides here.
I agree. I'm just trying
Okay, but that, advantage of that one would be, now, is there,
to, then the other ones, you guys will just scribble through that one. It's back over there on the back side there by the baseball field, because that's nice. graded that all out, and it's really nice over there.
Now, that would be an option there.
So that's,
That doesn't
that's even
interfere
farther
with
away than.
what you are thinking of?
No.
Okay.
That's even farther away than, that right there is kind of not in proportion to. the
Oh, I was
soccer
gonna say, is
field.
this supposed to be 100? Couldn't tell how big that one was, that one there.
Well, now, I mean, that, where you come in the entryway, but the soccer field's not quite as close to the baseball field there.
Now, this one here, where you first come in,
But we will have, I mean, they're just spending over $200,000 putting those steps and all that. That little access road right there on the, to go down to the soccer field, Mike, I mean, that's what they're going right.
right, but some of those things I don't think you carry. I think they have a little vehicle type thing that they take it in, don't they?
Yeah, but that's gonna be a, you can wheel it right down. I mean, it's gonna be a road and steps.
It's gonna be handicap.
Right, but I'm saying, don't they have some type of thing that requires being, you don't pull them by hand, I don't think, that, I don't know what they have, I don't know what it is, but around back there, they have some type of thing that they put their equipment in, and then that's how they move it around. And I don't, once again, I'm never in the band, and don't know anything about it other than what I'm told. This one down here where you first come in to the left, now, I know just having been recently out there to soccer of the evening, and I know Sean sees that often, that's a parking area. I mean, a lot of people park there, so if it were there, we'd have to overcome that, because see, that's another concern of the band people, is that they feel like they want a place that's theirs, and they could have ownership of it. And that whatever it is, it's not temporary, so when there's a baseball game or a softball game or whatever else is going on, then all of a sudden it becomes a parking lot. You know, they want an area of their own that's secure, that nobody will be, you know, they can make their own service, and everybody else is not using it just because it's convenient. I have noticed there that that's a lot of parking goes on in that vicinity right there. Now, of course, if we were to designate it as the band area, we'd have to address that in some way and make the parking be elsewhere.
But again, you could park in the parking lot up there and use the access that we spent $200,000 on to walk down the bank. I'm just saying.
Well, I ain't
You know, I
too.
mean,
I'm
I'm
just
trying to
trying-
be, I'm not trying to be negative here, but I'd like to have my football field right there too. We're talking about them marching down, you know, how about the access of the football program?
Nobody's,
I know, but
nothing
man.
has been affected by this. We're not
I
saying move the
know.
football
It's-
field, make it
it's-
75 yards.
It's hard not to get,
We're not
be.
saying any of that.
I know,
I
I'm
haven't
just.
talked to any of the band people, but have they given you a specific place where they want it? I mean, is there?
Mr. Snyder, can you address that, please?
What's that?
Where do
where
they
do the
want
band
it? Have
people
they
want
The
told-
last conversation I had with Mr. Cook, that was back in December, he was okay with the park, the bottom part Mr. Christian had spoken about. He was fine with that. That was Mr. Cook.
Behind the, outside the band room?
Yes.
70
Near
by
the-
50.
70 by 50, then you were talking.
Okay.
Going to the competitions, when they perform, if you take 60 kids and you spread them out on a 100-yard field, I mean, it's gonna look pretty, I mean, even if they went to 100 kids, I don't see, they don't spread out like that. The band kind of marches together and stays together.
Once again, Carol, I'm not a band person. I just know that what they're gonna, or what they insinuated to me is that when they practice, you know, just having gone to football games and watching, they don't all gather at the 50-yard line, and, you know, they'll have different, they may be down at the 10-yard line, they'll march around and do things, and I don't know, I can't answer for them. I'm just saying that, and maybe Mr. Cook has told Mr. Snyder something differently. Ideally, I guess they're gonna have to come in here and present their case to us, to see how they feel about it, but I know Fred and I, we'd heard so much, and, you know, you all, we talked about the pond. The pond is an issue in and of itself. If it wasn't there, you know, we could come up with that space. And I know there are those that think it does all these other things that are advantageous for the students, and may well do that. But it's also a safety issue. Having been out there on that for a couple of days, we found shotgun shell casings, we found bobbers from people been fishing, we found people who had their tracks of their vehicles driven right down by the pond and fishing. I talked to one of the assistant principals from the past who told me that he caught a kid that was skipping class and he went around, he was fishing out there. people can go in there the evening and something happened to them, we're liable for that. So aside from it, if the pond does remain, and I don't know that there are any plans to do away with it at this time, but if it does remain, something's going to have to change out there for liability for us. And if you have a swimming pool, you know what the first thing you have to do, don't you? You have to put a fence around it. And I know when we looked at that, it is immense in size. And to put a fence around that and it be an appropriate size to keep people out of there, it's going to be would be a large expenditure. But that's not something
Can
we
you
can
put some
just.
signs or something out there saying Lincoln County Schools is not responsible, or is that, I don't know how much?
We have an attorney here, ask her if she
I
thinks
don't know
how
if
far that would get.
I mean, to me, that would be at least a start, you know, I mean, to say that we're not held responsible, you know. You enter at your own risk.
You get some kid underage, that sign means nothing.
Yeah, once again, if somebody's injured or killed, God forbid.
I don't know how they got by with it this long. I mean, it blows my mind. You got one out there, no fence around.
And until you, like we did, we actually went out and walked all the way around. I mean, it's got little inlets that it just kept, it was much bigger than we even visualized when we first looked at it. But I'm sure you all know. But once again, that's a side issue that regardless of what happens with it, we're going to, one of these days, have to address that, or we could be faced with a problem out there, because once again, they go down there, the evidence is all around you when you're down there. The people go there, they think it's just like a part of the community where you go fishing. But I'm just saying, at some point, we're gonna have to think about that too.
Well, that's where that one, that's over top of that pond there in the back, it's where that, the one in the back, that's basically where that's over top of the pond right there.
But I mean, we're not here to decide this whole issue tonight. I'm just saying, there aren't any easy solutions to this whole thing. It's complicated, and that's why it goes back to the initial, why we wanted a master plan as to where everything's going to be, so we could kind of lay out and plan towards moving in phases or however how we do it, considering everything that's there.
I mean, and they end up back there with the football field, I mean, you know, I mean, it's not going to come to fruition, I mean, just planted grass and they got the field ready to go.
Well, hopefully, we'll have a football stadium with Christian. That's what we're hoping to have. But we have to, we just have to, that's what, once again, we get to the master plan, there's all kinds of activities, everybody, and you can understand that, whatever you're involved in.
I agree, you gotta have something. I mean, we're, the tennis courts, I guess we're waiting on the fiber optic from.
Yeah, the last I heard, there was a hope that maybe that could be moved.
They told me that it's happened, we'll move it.
Okay, so maybe we won't have to extend the field and all there as much as we originally thought we were going to have to do.
They can start to practice in July, yes. So it doesn't give us a whole lot of time.
What did she tell you, Mr. Snyder, about the,
July.
goes over across the,
She's got a couple of weeks in June, I think is what she told me, for July, so they start pretty much every day.
but last year, those people were on the soccer field and in the parking lot. I watched them practice, because it was during the 3-week June period.
Are you talking about the
Whoever that group of,
Drums across the
Drums
tri-state
across
comes
the
in
tri-state.
all night, and they use the facility and practice all day, and go to Charleston and perform and move on out. That's the first week of August, I think. The practice is going on, and
Okay, anything more, Mr. Christian? Anybody?
well, thank you all.
Thank you, Derek.
Again,
Appreciate it.
It's just, and I have several plans here. Again, we can save a lot of money, by using our, these are just some plans for the buildings.
Well, keep them handy and hope
Obtain.
a benefactor will,
My rich uncle gets out of the poorhouse.
somebody hit the lottery. We're not really particular on how we get it, as long as nobody steals it or anything.
Where's Mr. Wilkerson?
Right here on the end.
But thank you, Mr. Christian.
Thank you all.
I know you put a lot of time into this, a lot of
Well, I
work.
mean, I think it's
We
important
appreciate
for our
it.
kids. I mean, not for me. I mean, gosh, our kids are what we're here for.
It's important for, like you said, the schools, the students, community, everybody.
I think we'll see a huge difference in Lincoln County if we had something like that, something about to be proud. I think we're proud of the school, I'm not saying that.
Right.
But athletics is what links it all together, it bonds everybody. And it's not just football, it's deeper than that. It goes a lot deeper.
You get no argument from us, we agree.
Like I said, I know I'm preaching to the choir. Thank you, guys.
Okay.